have your coffee?
I got my coffee and I got my tea. I have
I got water. What about you, Kurt?
I just got my coffee.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
The passcode. How was your trip?
Amazing, amazing.
Wow.
It's almost like it felt like an upgrade, but I think that upgrade is almost like coming back home. The trip itself, whenever I travel and I do my work, I do feel the upgrade in my system. It's almost like I'm receiving cosmic surgery for my body and for everything.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right, right. And it often, I think it feels very unknown. It feels very new, and I have to have some time to integrate everything that I received. But this time I did felt like cosmic surgery, but at the same time, it felt so much of homecoming feeling.
I know that you did self-healing pretty
Mhm.
hardcore. If you're okay to talk about it,
Okay.
an actual physical thing that you did to change things, and not just talking about things in
Right,
theory,
right.
because it's only
Consciousness, right.
it's only a good story when you have these stories, but when you actually did it,
Mm,
that's
right, right. Yeah. So my background is I'm from Hiroshima as a second generation of atomic bomb survivor. So my family is experienced a horrible, horrible incident within a mile, and they survived, and therefore I'm here. And having this life is it's the it's the journey of how you can bring peace in the almost like a family karmic line, so strongly connected to the consciousness of war. So I struggle with my health with atomic bomb, which I mean atomic bomb disease. Like there's a lot of cancer in my family, and I I've been on that journey, and I was on that journey, but each time I did not believe in a traditional treatment like radiation or chemo. So when I was diagnosed, first I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and of course, doctor want me to put me on the, chemo.
poisoning
Yeah,
poisoning journey.
poisoning my body immediately, and but I knew that for me being a second generation and having the awareness that I'm not just a human here. My I realize my existence it's almost in a way to test how can I bring a new path to this field? How can I open the new door? Or how can I open this like heavy field that everything is trapped in here? All I need to do, I just need to punctuate so that something new can come in. So I was in a way gambling with my life that I decided I'm going to use my life to be the experiment of that. So I
Transmuting
didn't,
and evolving.
yes, I didn't choose those traditional treatment, but I did a lot of meditation activation and I did breath work, but more so, I surrendered to what is bigger inside of me, which is the life force energy inside of me that I noticed it's not mine to start with. So I put that back. It's almost like I put the idea back like this is me, this body is mine. How can I heal myself? No, it's opposite. This body belongs to the field, life force energy. This body belongs to my mycelium network, microbiome within me, all of the cells inside of me. This identity belonged to them. So I reversed it, completely surrendered to what is bigger inside of me, and just humbly just surrender to them. And for me to be out of their way. And yeah, so when I worked on myself, really, like, in a way, very hardcore, I was meditating all the time, and I was drinking lots of water, lots of water, and reprogramming everything, which one of the things that is very important to program everything with water, because we are water intelligence. Our body's made of water, and water is intelligence itself. You are not the intelligence. The water inside of you is the intelligence. So when I drink water, I am acknowledging and giving gratitude to water for thinking to bring everything back into the original state. So I was doing that, and it took me like 3 months and a half, but the tumor marker suddenly dropped. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience, right? So that was my first time that I experienced, like, oh my God, cancer is more changeable and malleable, actually, if you know how to tap into the consciousness. So that was the first time that I heal myself. And then again, it's interesting. My life is so connected to all of the trauma of Hiroshima. And in that, my relationship crisis is also connected to that line as well. I'm not going to talk about it in detail this time, but because of a lot of trauma happened in my life, a couple of years later, my tumor came back, actually. And this time it wasn't the breast cancer, it was in the spine. And it's all over the spine. And then I felt like, oh, again, it's a family karma, because the spine is the location to show the family comic line. So I was devastated, but at the same time, I was like, okay, wow, again, I gotta work on
another
this.
thing to evolve.
Right, I gotta work on this.
It seems like that you're working with your family line, and how it appears in the body that you're also using or borrowing for this transmuting, evolving, change the line, change the perspective, evolve everything. And it's basically when you're aware of that it's not even mine, it's an opportunity to change trauma too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So you don't want to hold it as yours, because once you hold it as yours, there's a story comes in, right? So if I treat myself as a cancer patient and really hold that story, I feel like, oh, I need to heal. I need to do something. I need to, right? Suddenly that, like, a pressure comes inside of me as all of the agenda that I need to do for myself. So the second time when I was with the cancer in my spine, my oncologist told me that he knew I'm not going to go for the radiation. I'm not going to go for the chemo. So he started to talking about, okay, how do you want to finish your life, right? So he started talking about, like, he could help me when the pain got too bad and when it's time. So it's like it was very intense.
They told you that you have like a little bit of time to live.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, well, this
how
is
uplifting.
a time that right, this is the time that you have that, okay, you need to think about how you want to live, right? So that was, yeah, and I received that, and my first reaction is that, okay, universe is giving me this theme again. What was the angle that I didn't try to tackle this theme of cancer? And one of the things that I noticed was, well, the first time when I was diagnosed, I actually really, in a way, tried in my own way to stick to my routine, stick to my meditation, stick to my practice. I was mindfully doing everything.
Hmm.
I wasn't pushing it hard because that I knew that creates something different. I wasn't pressing too hard, but at the same time, I was mindfully guiding my way to go to the certain direction. It's like, oh, that's the mountain that I want to climb. I keep climbing like this, right? In recognizing I am climbing to that top. But this time, what my awareness was told me, do it completely not thinking about it. Do it. It's almost like surrender everything. You don't even think about it. And that was a completely new approach. Because when you say, I want to heal this, you are creating that disease at exact same time, right? Because
Yeah.
in order to heal it, you need to create it.
You have to have
So
it
it's a
first,
hand
yeah,
in
if you
hand.
want to
It's a
do something. Mhm.
completely hand in hand, right? So
But
this time
it's not like you go like, I don't have, or how do you think of it? Like, you're aware that you're working with something, because you
so
cannot
whether,
just like, so it's not a denial thing.
well, it's not a denial, but I let go of the word healing.
Yeah.
I just let go of
You're
the
not sick, so you
concept
don't need to
of
heal.
healing, and I let go of everything, and I just ask the intelligence to bring me back to the organic state of my being. And that was
I
it.
love it.
Like, bring me home, and that's
Oh,
it. I didn't ask for anything else, but that's it. Like, just bring me
the
home,
goosebumps.
right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
this
just
is
kept
awesome.
saying that and asking them to bring me back home, and then try to hold my home frequency, which is I wanted to feel my ecstasy, my blissful state. So I was brewing tea, drinking tea, dancing, and all sorts of things, and just just feeling myself as a home frequency feeling, and asking the intelligence to take over, to bring whatever is necessary to bring it back to the alignment for the body. I don't have the wisdom to do it, but you have it. So please take over and do so. And then when I completely surrendered like that, I wasn't even thinking about healing. And when I took a PET scan, it was like one, two, three, like about 4 months later, tumors are gone. PET scan was clear. And then I was
What
like,
did the doctor
okay.
say?
Well, the doctors like usually like, okay, that is, whoa, you know. And I'm also exploring by myself as well, because I've witnessed a lot of the trauma and the suffering through my family with that disease, with that all of the post-war trauma. I've witnessed through that all of the suffering, and I was the first. I experienced that firsthand, actually, through my body. And when I was trying to do something, when I was trying to touch it, try to fix it, try to heal it, I realized I am creating something a little bit weird shape. And I will end up meeting that karma again if I do that. So my lesson here that I learned is, oh, I don't need to touch them. I just need to process through it in my awareness, completely surrender and say, whatever needs to happen, please happen. I witness it. I allow myself to be the vessel to flash through, flow through it. But I don't have any preference because I'm just witnessing it. And then
you're being in the state of like your joy, because you start doing, like as you said, that you were dancing, you were doing things that makes you feel alive, makes you feel good.
yeah,
Basically,
and
you
it's
raise your frequency, and on
see.
a certain frequency there is no disease can
Well, I mean,
can live.
and even the no disease, it's a home frequency.
Yes,
You
yeah,
just go home. Like
yeah.
the homecoming frequency, there's not even the concept of wellness and the disease or the health and disease. It's not polarized
It's
like
just a
that.
being.
It just be. It just
Yeah,
be you. And that you is, we as a human, we are perfectly imperfect. And I was fighting with my imperfection for a long time, being born as a second generation. I had so much things to say to the world, like, this is not okay. This history cannot happen. I had so much passion to share that to the world. But then I realized, like, wait a minute. The more I put my flag, the more I use my sword of righteousness to say it to the world. This is the way we need to do. That is wrong. This is the way. I thought, oh my God, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm playing the exact same game,
yeah.
which is
The
the
sequence is
polarity
the
game.
same, and yeah, and being
Exactly
in
the
that
same.
low.
Right. Like a light or dark, health or disease. Like it's the exact same dimension.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't matter what you're fighting for, you're fighting.
you're
And
fighting.
that's the
Yeah.
main sequence that
Right.
plays
You're right.
out.
Yeah.
You're
And then, yeah, go
you're
ahead.
identifying with it and you're energizing it
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're
Exactly.
Yeah. And
perpet
then story
perpetuating it.
perpetuating, right? So in order to let go of the story, you also you need to just surrender that it's okay. I don't need to do anything with these things. I don't need to touch it. I don't need to fix it. I don't even need to understand it. I don't need to analyze it. I don't need to do that. But I need to see it. I need to acknowledge the existence of energy is happening inside of me. And I need to honor and meet whatever it comes in front of you with honor, because
Was there
that is to love.
was there like a turning point that you realized that you basically stayed in that being you? Was there something that you noticed that either has happened that you were integrating that is not yours, or something that like did you catch what was it that created like that trauma, and then turning point, okay, this is done?
That's a
Did you have
great
a
question. Yes, I did. And the sensation that I received from my body is the sensation of integration and inclusion without pain, without suffering. I was able to accept everything at where they are at. So I was not disappointed that my cells developed cancer. I was I was fine with that. Like I loved them, even though they were cancer cells. I was able to love them because there's no judgment. I just wanted to include everything inside of me. I didn't want to exclude anything. Anger, disappointment towards betrayal, sadness, stress, trauma, pain, all of it. I just wanted to hold them because I'm not scared of them. I'm not resisting them because I know that's part of me that I fragmented. So even the
It's so
fear,
crazy.
it's crazy, right? Even the fear, I started to love the fear.
I love it because like our first
So,
interview that we did with the person Kevin, she he the whole thing is about befriend cancer to dissolve it, and it's just a verification through you that it's not just doable. This is the way, because
yeah, we can do it.
you get, and also the ancestry came up there too. That it
Mm-hmm.
was
It
something
plays a big,
that didn't resonate with him, that was going on with the ancestors.
yeah. So I think that in the
Wow.
end, homecoming frequency is the frequency of before the Big Bang. Before the Big Bang, we were just a one thing. And then we got fragmented. In that fragmentation, there's a fear, there's the lack consciousness, there's disease, there's a trauma, there's the stress, everything is fragmented.
So when you
So
want to
just
go
bring them
into that
everything.
homecoming feeling,
Mm-hmm.
uh
You
do
don't want to
you
touch them to fix them. You wanna bring them as they
how do you
are.
feel that home? If you imagine someone who never did such a thing, how do you approach of like,
Mm.
how do you know that what is home feeling?
There's
You
a
feel alive, you feel
there's like
excited.
well, here's the thing though. Home frequency, it's very subtle. Very, very, very subtle. It's not like a yay, I'm home. No, it's opposite. When you're feeling like yay, I'm home, that's a hormone that you're feeling.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
more like
home
very
frequency, it's
calm.
very, very subtle, very calm. It's almost like underlining stillness that no matter what happened, you cannot be eliminated or extinguished
It's
because
like a full
as a
support from every angle.
because as a pure awareness, as an energy, you cannot be destroyed.
Exactly,
You're
yeah.
always existing, but that existence sensation comes in as a very subtle stableness. It's not like,
Yeah,
oh my God, I'm alive and I'm so glad I'm alive. No, it's
that
opposite.
excitement. Yeah,
It's
yeah, I know
opposite,
what you're talking about. It's
right?
and people are looking for that excitement feeling, which is has those impulses and such.
Yeah,
And actually this is
yeah,
the part when it's just
yeah.
because
Because
there is nowhere to wave, because it's like
mhm,
it spreads
it's
like a
spread like
sphere.
a fear, right? So the good description is when your mood is swinging like this, most likely you're grabbing something outside to
Yes.
make you feel happy. So as long as you do that, your happiness is like this, which is
Yeah.
which is beautiful. If you like to ride a roller coaster, please ride a roller coaster
And
because
go to
that's
Orlando
amazing.
Universal
Yeah,
Studios.
like
Yay.
yeah, yay, right? But then at a certain point, when you feel like, okay, oh my God, I've done enough roller coaster rides, I don't need to do that. But I just wanted to just feel me without any external validation, like any. So in that statement, what I did in the past was, with or without cancer, I am me. Can I feel myself with or without cancer? Can I feel myself without this world? If the world is peace, if the world is war, it does not matter. Can I feel myself as is? Never expressed like that. It's always, always, always the most subtle feeling. And you need to really, really deep listening to that, because otherwise the outside noise is so loud that you cannot hear it. You cannot hear the subtle
Yeah.
sensation of happiness inside of you, because your emotion and your stories are so much louder. And I was always tapping into that. And I realized, oh, wait a minute. When the world is peace, I'm peace. But when the world is, let's say, when I'm in the battlefield, wait a minute, I still feel this peace inside of me. That
Exactly.
means I'm overriding everything. I'm overriding the environment. And that feeling comes as the very subtle feeling. It's not like an achievement. It's like the air. The air is always here, right? Is not asserting itself like I am air, breathe me, I am air. No, something is so primal, never assert like that. So you need to
The funny thing is
really
that you will affect the outside once you're there, and not the outside will affect you.
Yeah.
You create the circumstances, and not the circumstances create you.
And I think that's the tipping point in the human consciousness, when we realize, wait a minute, when we were in peace, we were peace, but when we are at war in the chaos right now, we can still be happy. That realization is the key.
We're
Wow.
making war to get peace. That's also like such a nonsense thing.
But that's the thing though, when we were in chaos, we can activate inner peace. It's not the opposite way. People
Yeah, exactly.
think,
When you have chaos,
right?
you can pick out the things that you like and
then
build
activate
the
peace
system
within.
that works. Yeah.
Yeah. So once humanity learn how to do that, because that's how we actually functioning all the time, but we don't realize how to use this gift. We actually override, our consciousness override everything. So when we have a practice, it's almost like a on the job training in the middle of the battlefield. It's like a samurai training. When you go into the battlefield, looking at everybody killing everybody, and then your old like biological reaction hits you, right? And then like, oh my God, you think you're gonna die. But once you penetrate that, you suddenly realize, okay, wait a minute. Wow, I think I'm okay. To die here, I'm okay. And that weird peace coming inside of you,
That breaks the limits, that breaks
that
everything, and then
breaks the game.
override.
Yeah, and that you're tapping into your presence. When you are in a crisis, you are forcing yourself to tap into your presence, which is the underlying field. So in that sense, we do need a crisis. Yeah, we do need a crisis.
In daily life, I noticed that when I work with someone and something comes through as a suggestion that, hey, stop for a second, go in there, find what bugs you that much, and take care of that first, because that will change your situation, the outcome, everything. And then people first say, oh, I have to go call this one, and then I have to do that meeting, and then I will do that. It's like you don't understand that if you stop when you feel that shit coming up, you take care of that, those circumstances will change, so you don't have to go through the battlefield, because you make peace, the whole thing will change, and then the things that are actually helping you will come in, instead of you trying to figure it out or battle with it. It's exactly the opposite. As you say, you stop, you don't, I will do it when. No, you stop and do it now, because there is only now, and the state of being of now will determine what is the next that you're gonna experience.
Oh yes, 100%. And at that moment of whatever the crisis that you feel, that's the moment your microbiome actually stands up for you, because your mind completely gives up. When you go to the bottom of your suffering, your human mind gives up. And then suddenly the life force energy within you comes to the front
And it says
And
like
then you,
it's all gonna be fine. It's no
yeah,
matter
and
what
then you
happens, you're
realize
gonna
like,
be
oh
fine.
my God, we are so
Yeah.
much stronger than we think we are, because we're not just human. We are ancient life force energy. Keep surviving through all these
Keep
history.
living.
Keep
Because we don't
living,
survive. We're living. That's the
thriving, right? So when you
thrive, yeah.
honor that, when you honor the life force energy just flowing through you in all those crises, you're in awe. Actually, you're in like your jaw drops, like, oh my God, I am so much stronger than I think I am, because I'm not just a human. I'm an ancient life force energy.
And you get excited of any kind of experience because your being is excited of experiencing, and it doesn't matter what it is. Therefore, either it's suffering or something that makes you happy. It doesn't make a difference. The polarity is gone because it's the experience, and you're just as
Mhm.
excited about it. And it's the paradox as
Yeah,
well, because that's
yeah,
when you can evolve your own being, because there is
mhm.
no negative anymore. You don't recognize it as negative. Therefore, a lot of
Yeah,
times, because of that, it doesn't have to happen, because you don't separate it as a negative thing and that you want to push away. Therefore, it wants to
mhm.
come back and show you that, hey, I'm just like another experience. It's not right.
Right. It's interesting. Our human consciousness always wanted to avoid the pain and always, like we don't want to explore negativity. But here's the thing though, as our spirit and consciousness as a soul, they just want you to go home, right? They just wanted to have this homecoming feeling. In order to do that, they will bring everything to you. Because if
And
you are just in a positive feeling and, woohoo, I'm in heaven, you're not going to come home. So
yeah,
they need to give you some sort of a
because
homework.
when you
Like,
say that I'm in heaven, that
yeah,
you admit that there
you're
is
not
a
going to
hell,
realize who you are. So,
and
like,
that
your
yeah.
soul is guiding you, your higher self is always guiding you to come home to you is the ultimate feeling that you want to explore. So therefore, I'm going to give you all sorts of ingredients for you to figure it out how to do that. And in that, suffering is grace.
Huge
Without suffering,
misconception that people that you have to suffer to evolve, and you have to
yeah,
feel pain to evolve. And I'm not
evolve.
sure that's true. Pain comes up to show you that you're not aligned.
And we are almost like looking for the external validation. Look at me, I'm suffering this much. That means I'm making effort to live my life. That kind of feeling, it's very twisted, but it
Yeah.
plays out, but it plays out so cleverly in our system that in order to feel you are alive, you wanted to feel pain, you wanted to feel suffering. But now we can let that go and say, in order to feel your life, you can just be happy, and that's who you are and what you are. You don't
Or
need to
it's not even
suffer.
happy. I wouldn't even call it it's just a lack of the better word. You can be fulfilled,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
feel that, because perfection, it's like they go for perfection. And when I was thinking about what perfection is like, people are a lot of times they link it with certain result, perfection. But to me, perfection is when I do something, do I do it with 100% from my heart or not? As long as I do it with 100% from heart, that's when it's perfect. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. It's when I put my 100% into it, that's the perfect that can come out. And one day, it's my 100% is 40% compared to the previous day, but it doesn't matter because the sequence is the same. I do things fully 100% from my heart, period. And that's perfection, I think. Not the outcome, not the result, not the it doesn't matter. It's a different thing. It's just a checkpoint compared to the circumstances.
What,
Mm.
what I hear you guys talking about is just being,
Yeah,
just being.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
yeah, that's the perfection. Yeah.
Right. And when the energy moves in the universe, it only moves from 0 to 100%. Means 99.9 it's considered as 0. So that's why when we say becoming, means we can either be 0 to just be observant, or when you become 100% with that energy to become it. The energy only moves 0 to 100 in the universe, but in our human mind, we don't get that, because when we move energy in our human awareness, we move it for 20%, we move it for 40%, and feels like we're moving it. But the universe is actually more dynamic than that. If you're moving to A to B, you need to put 100% to the B, and then you moved. So the awareness of your heart, you pull the 100% out. That is a key to be with the universe and to realize we are a galactic being, and we know how to do that actually. Kurt, thank you so much for holding space. Also, because, well, since I had no idea what this meeting is all about, so I just letting myself out and expose like that, like this, but without contained in a safe space, I won't do that either. So thank you so much for both of you to holding the space and just witness my journey with me today.
That was so
Actually
beautiful.
this meeting is about authenticity, so that's why we don't say that, hey, we're going to talk about this or that, because we believe in synchronicity, and then that the most important things will come up, and it's just the friendly coffee talk, just just the use stuff, how to dissolve cancer without chemo,
Coffee
just the
coffee
use.
time. Yeah.
So we created this channel to talk about things that people either don't talk about, or they don't talk about the how to, and they really want people who has abilities to come on this channel and talk about how they receive things, how they process things. And so can you tell a little bit about your gift?
Well, I think there's I can say it in the two stories. The first story is I knew I was an empath when I was even a little girl, but I do have this connection all the time, but I didn't know how to deal with it because the world we are in is so different, and I was not encouraged to show anything of that ability. So I was just kind of, it's almost like this connection is a treasure within me that I need to hold it and treat it as precious, but not to share with anybody, because if I share it or if I expose it, I feel like they will take it away from me. So
it's so horrible that there are so many people with these amazing gifts, and if you talk about it, then you're the crazy one.
oh
But
yeah,
whenever somebody has an actual problem, they always find you. And I've seen videos with doctors and neuroscientists, that how did they get to their level, and they always had I mean, most of them had an experience with either a medium, a psychic, someone who had the gift and showed them something that they never saw before, and that kind of linked them with authenticity, and or they had an NDE or stuff like that. So it should be cherished when somebody has a sort of in a gift. It's like your way of expressing this energy or consciousness.
I hear you 100%. And I think the world is changing to embrace that
Yes.
more and more. So the oh yes, go ahead, Kurt.
So was it difficult in Japanese?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And especially, in the culture, it's much more, what's the word? if you are different, you have a hard time to be in that culture. And knowing that I intentionally kept it within me. So inside of me, there's always the connection for me to the universe and to the core of Gaia. There's a connection there. But I almost like fake it as if like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it, and I wanted to live just as everybody else. So I think in the last 10 years or 15 years or so, when I actually practice gene keys, which is about, it's the algorithm of how human consciousness going through the evolution and involution, how the human consciousness expands. Like I needed to use my mind to transcend my mind to get to the almost like more than the mind level realm, like a causal level or the monadic level. There are so many layers, and in our mind, we kind of stuck in a mind realm where we, as a collective consciousness, we were not ready to accept this something is not visible having so much power and influence in our life.
And it's so funny because even a thought can be so powerful, and it's invisible. So and people that just, okay, thoughts are okay, but like other feelings or sensations are not. It's like, be fair, come on.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
True, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right? So I needed to go through the logical mind to transcend the logical mind. So I went so logical to really try to understand the 64 DNA, really like almost like my mind at the full activation. And then at a certain point, my mind or my left side of the brain suddenly popped open and realized, like, wait a minute. I thought I know things, but it's the opposite. I don't know anything. And in that sentence opens up all the way. It's like, oh my God, I don't know anything about anything. And then I think I penetrated the mind realm to almost like a causal realm, which is, it's still a mind or the consciousness that we can understand, but it doesn't have any agenda there. And there's no understanding in that realm. It's only knowingness.
Paradox is the key
to do
and when
that.
you,
Yes.
yeah, and when you just observe and absorb things and become that thing,
yeah,
basically
exactly.
that's how you know it. You don't have to understand it because you become that thing.
Yes. And that's how I get to the location from the mental plane, actually. I just penetrated that.
How can you use it in your daily life?
I just wanted to tap into the frequency. And just like you said, if it's like becoming the frequency itself to know from within, instead of going out there to grab it and try to put it in from your mind. It's opposite. You expose yourself in that frequency and vibrate as a frequency in that resonance, and inside of your cell there's the knowing. It started
So
to almost
you
like
can use it to get to know yourself more, and when you know yourself more, then you can make better decisions. You can make more clear it's more clear what you resonate with, so like you can follow a type of path that is yours and not something that you were conditioned to in your culture.
Right.
In Europe it's the same. If you're different, then you're the weird one. And the funny thing is that our fingerprint is different. Everyone's fingerprint is different. Everybody is different, and they want to push you into like, to be the same, which is not. It's never gonna work. Like, you don't even see it in nature that everything is the same.
Well, I think
Like
that's the point.
and
You just nail it. That when you know everything is one, everything is the same, at that angle of viewing things, you suddenly realize, like, oh my God, what a gift to exist as a unique being at this moment. Everybody is unique. That is amazing.
that's the same in
gift.
everyone. That's
Yeah,
the same in
because
everyone,
we're the
that everyone is
same.
different.
Right, because we know we are the same, therefore we can appreciate the difference. But if you come from the opposite side, that's different. Like, when we know, like, oh my God, we are so different, let's try to be one. No, it's opposite. We are one to start from. Therefore, we can embrace diversity and all sorts of different expressions of life, because knowing we are one in a deep core belief, or the knowingness that suddenly everything is cherished.
So how can you add yourself into that one, like a huge engine, and everybody has their own part to play, to bring in, and that's how the engine works. If everything would be evolve, or everything would be I don't know, fuel injection something, then there wouldn't be engine to
No.
move forward. Yeah.
I think that's a fascinating approach, because like you're saying, most people, we try and figure it out in our minds, and then we reach out with that, versus what you're saying, right? Like you kind of join with the frequency, so you become it, and then you integrate that and move from that, versus I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm going to go out and do something with that. All right, you're faking it until you make it, and then you start claiming that space, and then you make it yours.
Or don't
It's interesting.
fake it.
Don't make it.
Just do it.
You become it. That's the word.
Right.
You become it, because that's our ability as we exist as the living photon. So all we can do is we become it, I think.
What's fascinating is you both talk about the same thing, but you describe it from with different words. But you both say the same thing.
These are the things that I'm looking for, because these formulas are sequences that you can apply to anything and everything. Because when you can apply it to anything and everything from every angle, that's when, to me, it becomes that truth, that type of knowing that is like the set law. To me, that's the universal law. When you see something from any angle and it's still the same, that's the law. Anything else can be changed and will be changed and must be changed.
Right. You know, the truth is the truth.
And everything can be truth. And that's the law.
And it applies to everything. It doesn't matter what it is, it'll apply to everything.
Yeah, because anything can be truth from that point of view. But in this case, that the sequence is to be true no matter what. That's the truth of it, not the actual idea, but the point of view, how it become truth to you. But truth is the essence.
When we talk about finances and making more money, you know, how you would talk about putting yourself into that mindset, into that energetic, I guess, frequency, you know, and then just build that from there, rather than coming from a fear place, right? Like, well, I need to make the money to pay the bills, and so you're coming from a place of fear, so you're working from that place, rather than you know, like you were telling me, you know, feel what that's like to already have it.
I was working with someone, and he had like crazy strong fear, like every day, like a paralyzing kind of fear that was like pressing on the chest, and it was going on for a long time. And fear in Hungarian, it's when you translate it directly, it means half element, meaning that there is the half of the information is missing.
Ah,
And then that
beautiful.
frequency basically shows up as fear
Mm-hmm.
in the body because there is a lack of information. So when
Mm-hmm.
you take a look at what am I really afraid of,
Mm-hmm.
when you take a look at it, it kind of start reveal itself, and then the thing that you're afraid of, it becomes nonsense.
Mm.
And there are two ways to look at it, and then it reveals itself, so it becomes an element that you can integrate. Or when you just connect to that higher frequency, and as Miki says, you become that thing. You understand. You know that there is no such a thing as danger. There is no such a thing as uh, fear. Really, it's just a lack of information, and fear shows you that, hey, there is something that you still need information to integrate, and you can go both ways. You face your fear, or you simply learn to become things and to know them or understand them, but the lack of word. So to understand them and become them, and then there won't be place for fear. It won't be relevant because you just basically you you don't think about anymore of survival as you were conditioned. Because you fear that there is no such a thing as cease to exist, just different ways of existence.
Mm.
And the funny thing, when the person looked at his fear and it became nonsense, it literally disappeared within the 20 minutes after a lifetime of being terrified of what's going to happen. Was something they are out there for me, getting me, and it disappeared, and it became a source of energy to him. It started to charge him up instead of draining him. It was amazing to see that transition within, I don't know, like within an hour.
You know, I realize by listening to both of you, the truth of the universe that we're talking about earlier, it's all about inclusion. The concept of exclusion is not existing, right? So when we include everything, bringing back to the one point, it becomes whole. That means in reverse, when the Big Bang happened, we used to be one like that. When the Big Bang happened, we are fragmented into pieces and spread around and exploring separation at this moment. And in that separation, of course, we have the sensation of lacking something. Yeah, it is because we were fragmented, right? But that sensation of lacking show up as a fear, but it's even when you're talking about like that is showing you are fragmented. We just want to bring everything back into one place, which means include literally everything. Include, you don't need to love it, you don't need to have a preference. You just need to bring everything one by one, collect everything without any judgment. And I think that's what we're doing at this moment, that we are shown so many different fragmented aspects of humanity. And some of the aspects are looking horrible.
We talk about a lot of things in theory, but
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that? I see so many amazing conversations about the let go, about the release, relax, fear, love, blah blah. It's awesome. How?
Witness means as if you are a scientist, almost like a scanning and checking and see what's happening as a data. You just look at it as a data without judging, without editing, without trying to fixing, because that's the
I'm
thing
going to
we
sit
do.
down and then, okay, I have this mood. And I mean, like, for me, it's usually that I try to localize where in my body do I feel it.
Right.
I believe that we store energy
In the body.
based on our situations, experiences in the body. And when something stocks or causing a weird feeling, I sit down and where do I feel it? And then even when I think of that question, where do I feel it? I start feeling it somewhere. This pressing, and then I, okay, what is this? Why do I feel that? And then I just let that. This is when I do that investigation, witnessing thing. I just keep asking, what is that? And what is that? Is either feelings are coming up, thoughts are coming up, sometimes a picture, sometimes the feeling of being neglected, or I wasn't heard. I couldn't validate my feeling. I don't even understand why do I feel something. Maybe there was a trigger and it brought back a memory, and I just let it pop in without logic.
Yes,
because I noticed that there is no logic in those triggers.
Yeah. And
then you can
exactly
pinpoint. Yeah.
So that the key is, can you see everything without creating story? Because once you started to tell yourself story, you're going to go into your mind. You're going to go into the emotion trip, which is great. If you want to enjoy it that way, please do so, because that's a beautiful journey as well, to go into your inner child and to just explore yourself in a very poetic way. And I think that's amazing and beautiful journey. But if you wanted to feel yourself as a pure awareness, which is pure awareness, just aware, we don't touch it. It's observer effect in a quantum physics. You just witness and aware what is happening, not edit anything. And in that pure awareness, our presence started to dissolve what is here in a frequency. And you're not doing it. It's your presence. It's your being.
It aligns the frequency
itself
for you to the point where it resonates with you.
Yeah. And then when you tell your story, you are going back to your identity. In order to tell the story, you need to know your identity to tell the story. So for me, when I say please witness, means witness without story means just be your being. Don't be Miki. Don't be Kurt. Don't
bring the persona in.
Because then you're gonna tell your story, and then you're gonna trap yourself in a story. So just exist as a pure awareness, as a being, which you don't need to understand anything. You don't need to analyze anything. Let all of that sensation plays out, play through you, process through you. You don't even need to know anything. Just
because
aware something is processing.
Your story builds up based on your experiences and the lack of data. You don't know all the information, so you're creating your story based on this much. And you don't know why it had to happen, who's participating in it, why. So like you go sideways with understanding, and you respond to something that is not even
and I think we're going to go down into the rabbit hole when we start telling. I mean, telling a story is a beautiful aspect of humankind, and which we want to cherish it, but we also need to realize the polarity of it. I mean, almost like a paradox. When you tell stories, you become that identity of the person who's telling the story. So if you're struggling with your identity, with yourself as what ego thinks who you are, of course, the more story that you tell yourself, you're gonna stuck in a location the way you are at. And in order to transcend that, you need to tap into your being, not your identity, which means you need to tap into your right side of the brain to go down into the belly consciousness, which is, again, inside of your body. Stay in the solar plexus, stay in the belly, stay in the dantian.
How do you do that?
Drop it. Drop.
So you're paying
Literally
attention.
drop it.
Like you're sensing yourself as being, like you're doing the breathing at that Kurt taught us the other day, and then you just like basically put your awareness, you pay
In the
attention
body.
in the belly
Or
the
body,
belly as
center of the body is where the being is here. When you feel your being and your soul, but you're not here. And it's funny, when we think about mind, we usually say like this, but mind is actually, it's not here, it's in a field.
So basically,
And
when you start hearing thoughts, you need to shut them off in a way that you redirect your awareness to
down
to your breathing and to what do I feel in my belly.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
not just the food, but the sensations that I feel in the belly. And whenever the chatter starts in the head, then you just refocus on the breathing. I'd like to show a perspective what to look for when you start working with yourself, because this is the route that we don't get educated on, because it's very natural to you, it's natural to Kurt, it's natural to me and a lot of people, but the ones who never tried to work with themselves, where do I start? I'm interested in where do I start, what is the route? And usually when things coming up, it's something that doesn't resonate with you, just the frame that I need to come out of my head. How do I come out of my head? When the chatter starts, I say no longer, and then just like focusing on breathing. What do I feel when I take a breath? Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Don't leave space to the in the head. So it's like basically training yourself to be present this way. And I'm trying to gather all sorts of ways how you can shut it up here and how you can connect here.
So we're talking about a technique or a process, and this is kind of the way I'm hearing or understanding what Miki just said. And I'm looking at it from a pure physiological point of view. So essentially, if we look at the different parts of our brain, right? So our neocortex, you want to not think about something or visualize something, like that thought process. So we're using our neocortex. What it sounds like is you want to drop more into like, the brain stem, the reptilian brain and the limbic system, because we're looking at something that's pre-verbal. There's no language. It's sensation. So
like instinct.
What's that?
Like instinct.
Yeah, it's it's like, yeah, kind of, right? So like the reptilian brain, the brain stem, it's responsible for all these autonomic functions in the body, like breathing, like the beating of the heart, the digestion of food, right? We don't need to think about those things, right? They're regulated from this primitive part of our brain. That's about survival. And then with the limbic system and just emotions and the things we feel. So by not paying attention, by dropping into that and not the neocortex, so we're not thinking about things or visualizing or imaging things, right? You're dropping into that place, that sensation. So when you focus on the breathing, we're directly affecting our physiology, right? The breathing gives us a direct access into our nervous system. So
you're present.
There's no story because it's just sensation. Like the simple fact of observing something changes the outcome.
You don't respond right away, but you sit and observe. So like maybe you gather more data from a better angle, because you're not getting upset, you're not getting angry, you're not getting frustrated, disappointed, whatnot. You train yourself by being present when the external world, like there's something happens in the external world, you do the same. You observe and you don't judge. Therefore, the outcome will be different because you don't do shit that you
Well,
shouldn't.
I think it's not that you don't get angry or upset, because these are natural parts of ourselves,
You don't react.
but you're not reactive.
Mhm.
You're not letting those emotions overtake you, like with road rage. You're not letting these things overtake you, and so you act poorly.
Yeah, when these emotions come up, then you can actually observe those. Why did you get triggered? Somehow
Exactly.
you're involved with that feeling, triggered by that situation, and then you observe, what is that situation to do with me, really? And then you can find things in there that you stored or suppressed, and then you can decide how you want to react, if you want to and if you want to react. And that's a huge difference, not just snap when something happens and you get the button get pressed and you just do things that that you would regret.
Right, right. I can I share very radical view to tap into presence.
Please,
It's kind of
please,
weird.
Miki.
Okay, it's kind of weird to say it, but for those who don't understand what being feels like, what the presence feels like, this is how I explain. We think we are this, but we are not. What I'm talking about is in our in our belly. When I say drop down awareness to be in the body, because in the body there are tons of microbiome in our body, and they are much more older than we are. Think about microbiome. They are
What
older
is
than
that?
us. Microbiome in our system and all of the cells, like mitochondria and everything, that like a life force energy within us, it's not ours. They come first. We get somehow confused that this identity, this human come first, and then we have life force energy inside. It's opposite. Life force energy, microbiomes existing as a mycelium network first. So in your body, there's a microbiome, tons of microbiomes, and they are moving and they are awareness. They are aware, they're intelligence. And this body is just a case for their survival. This body is keeping them at the exact perfect temperature for them to survive inside. We are actually a case, simply a case to store microbiome awareness. Microbiome awareness is almost like a mycelium network. It's like a Wi-Fi, right? They're connected to everything. That's why I call it as a oneness field. Because if we think of us as a mycelium network first, not this body, not this identity, but there's the life force energy that we can feel. When you feel your body, you are alive. But there's the life force energy. Your heart is beating, your organs are moving, and there's the microbiome even in your tummy, always moving around and eating things, right? So just feel the microbiome energy even inside in your belly, and then realize like, wow, they are alive and they are awareness. So I lower my awareness to almost like a listen to them and talk to them and be with them is the first step to start to realize you are this intelligence of life force energy. But you cannot go through it from your mind, from your identity. Oh, I am Miki. Who is Miki as a life force energy? No, it's opposite. I am
And how do you talk to them? You you imagine microbiome as it shows up,
no, you just
however, and then you just talk to them, or
you just put your hands on your belly and just, first of all, you want to spend time with them, right? You wanted to acknowledge that they are the one inside moving, and they are the original life force energy older than we are.
for the physical.
Yeah, and that ancient energy is moving, and you just kind of, when you acknowledge something, that thing is existing in your world. If you don't acknowledge the existence of it, it's not actually existent. So the reason I'm talking about this right now, I'm telling people that, hey, wait a minute, microbiomes, they're existing in your system and they're much older than we are. Then this will be existence in your world, and then start tapping into it.
I forgot how you said it, but it's like you're not, like my words is like you're not identifying with it. You're aware of what's going on, but there's no identification.
Right.
So what I wanted to ask you, so with the emotions and the story, couldn't you do the same thing with that?
I did. Yeah.
Watching, because you're living your life, so there's a history. There's history with things, so there is something there. So to observe that without a charge, without identifying, without, right? Because a lot of times we're putting energy into these things.
Yeah.
Like there's identification, there's different things attached.
I hear you, because I needed to do the same thing with my emotions, because I've gone through lots of lots of, well, you know me, I've gone through the betrayal and all sorts of emotions in a relationship, that it was so hard. And I think that also triggers my disease, and everything started to coming out to the surface. So when I was dealing with emotions, first of all, I had to go through the stage where I needed to feel everything. I needed to make stories so that I can hear it. So it was the time that I needed to do the story. But then there's a time comes I needed to let go of the story. Because if you keep telling your story, you are perpetuating, just like we talked about earlier. It's a loop, right? So there's a moment that you need to realize, okay, I need to let go of this story, because the emotion keeps coming back, And when it comes to emotion, it doesn't matter if the things in the past happened like 10 years ago. It does not matter, because when you have that emotion, your biology again hit by that. So you're having all sorts of biological reaction within your system. It is again the stress that hitting you again.
We are walking pen drives, like we store information with emotions, and we store energy through that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what happened, because it was a different you. And there is a shortcut with the story, that like you take a look at your story from a different angle. Okay, can you tell your story different? And I changed it to I looked at what's happening to me in that story, what the outside or the other person does to me,
Mm-hmm.
what is the disturbing me in that, was frustrating me. And then I took a look from the angle of in what areas in my life I do the same thing to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was terrifying how exactly the same thing I did to myself under the good intention to keep the relationship together, to make everybody happy, to except myself. I wasn't in the picture. I didn't listen to myself. I didn't hear myself. What would I prefer instead? I went into into the situation and trying to solve it for the two of us, that I didn't pay attention what my needs were, or how would I like to live. And that's exactly what the person did to me. It
Mm-hmm.
was like that mirror. It's
Mm-hmm.
just whatever is bothering you, that is exactly what you do to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I think when it comes to story, I think what we are talking about is the relationship of the story that we tell ourselves. If we think the story is fixed, that's the time we start having an issue with it. Like
Exactly.
for example, if
Exactly.
you can change the story, let's say from the different angle, this is my story, but from you, I will hear your story. You just change the angle, right? And you can even say within you, this is the story from my lower self. My lower self tells this story about this event. Let's see if my higher self tell the story about this event. Most likely those stories are different, right? Depending on the angle that you go in, things looks completely different, which is again, we're talking about the truth. The truth is not existing as a one truth. Truth is only existing in the angle that you choose. So if there are 10 angles that are existing, there are 10 truths. And
Exactly.
once we realize that, I think that's the time we can loosen up with holding the story. Then finally we can kind of let it go or even play with it. Like, oh,
Or
let's
even just
change the
prefer.
storyline.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like this one. I go with
Yeah,
this
let's
one.
choose this one because I don't like this one. Let's choose this one. See, if
Can
we
I
can be
say
playful, then that's the moment that we transcend
can I say
story.
a short story of these angles?
Mhm.
Like throughout my life, I used to look at my childhood and my parents in a way that they're so different. Mom is lawyer, dad is artist, so like so different worlds. That as a kid, there was no way to be enough for both.
Mm.
Not to mention that I'm my own person, so it kind of followed me for decades, that they are so different, and the love language is so different, the whole thing is different, and not really a connection. That was and I had my childhood traumas through that. But then once when I looked at it from a different angle, the so-called the higher self's angle, those two worlds are so different, and I had access to both. So now when I work with people and I'm doing either massage or whatever I do, I can switch between these realms. I can understand realms easier because I had the pattern, the sequence of the differences between realms and worlds and dimensions and all the kind of stuff. So when I meet a person, I can resonate with them very easily. I can make that switch. If my parents were like Mormons or like, the same with the same belief systems and such, then there would be something that would hold me back to be able to switch when I have to, when I need that switch. So actually I'm very, very grateful that I was born with these parents, because whatever happens in life, I can just switch. If I
Mm.
move to a different country, if I'm doing a different type of job and they're like so different, like exactly the opposite, I can easily just switch and do that, because I learned through the and so I'm very grateful now. I don't have trauma. I don't look at it as trauma. I look at it as blessing. And I think that's the huge difference that we kind of need to think about that, or feel about that, when there is an issue with parents. What, as a soul, why would I pick those parents? What can I learn through that? What can I work through being in that situation with those circumstances? Because as a soul, usually we come into this game with the big face that, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pick this kind of suffering that I can change, and I'm gonna do this, and then we press the button to forget, and then we go in and we're complaining until we realize that, oh, I can work with that energy sequence. I can transmute it and evolve it for the collective, with the collective. And it's an amazing journey once you come out of the duality and judgment and all that kind of stuff. So I can tell I really love that blessing with that. I almost got murdered by my husband, the crazy times with parents and stuff, and not understanding. Now I look at it as blessing, because just by thinking of it differently, that's evolving itself.
When it comes to perspectives, the more perspectives that you can gather through your life, that's the beauty. Instead of narrowing down, instead of thinking truth is one and only, no, the truth is gathering all of the possible perspective that you can gather.
Yeah, you're
through
widening
your
the
field.
spectrum of
Yes.
understanding and knowing
Yes.
that. And that's
Include
how you get,
everything and just expand, like gather
Yeah.
as many truths as possible within your system. That will create a beautiful journey. And it's a
yeah, because
homecoming.
a bunch of it will resonate with you more, that will assist you to your next step or your next decision. And you integrate the rest that doesn't resonate with you. It's still a part of you, but then you will be able to make decisions what path, what step you want to make. And that's when your knee won't go out. That's when your knee won't give up on you. That's when your shoulder won't be like this, because you don't have to carry things that are not yours. And your physical body is just like thrive.
Yeah. And always moving to the unknown. When we are
And in
suffering,
the
we are
unknown, you
going
just
into the
get to know.
known.
And when you go into the unknown, you gotta know you more. I don't know why people afraid of unknown. Unknown means that there are things that I don't know about myself that I have the chance to know now.
Well, you just nailed it. Yeah, go ahead, Kurt.
I was going to say the real obvious example of that is like the Monday class. There's two people in a class, you can see how tight their minds are. And then they're the ones having these issues, right, in the body, that all these health things. You can see that how rigid and fixed their minds are.
Yeah, you can see the disalignment on both ends, like the physical end or the mind, and both are causing something that they feel stuck.
Yeah.
And I realized that the dance of the universe is the dance of known and the unknown. When the outside of your world is known, inside of you is most likely the unknown. When you reverse it, when the outside of you is completely unknown, inside of you is known. We can always dance. So you need to choose which side do you want it to be.
It's like a female and male energy.
Exactly.
And like people, like they fighting, and no, you teach them how to dance.
Yep. So you need to actually surround yourself with the unknown so that you can know yourself, and that everything is unknown.
I think the yin and yang, that dance that goes on, that constant That's
constant spin, right? Wanted to surround everything as a known, and if you want it to be known, there's no movement of life force energy.
Exactly.
You're right. So you need to choose which side that you wanted to be into dance. And as a humanity, we've been saying that we wanted to know, we want to know, no. And then we can't dance anymore. So we need to surround ourselves in unknown so that we have an inner knowing that we know who we are. But that, I think that comes organically through this dance of being in a chaotic environment that you have no idea what's going to happen next. Tomorrow is not guaranteed for anybody. And in that unknown, you suddenly notice the life force energy.
That's when you can be totally still.
Yeah, you
That's
can see
that's
your
when you are the
presence.
only stable
Yeah.
point when everything is in chaos. And
Yeah.
I
Eye
love
of the
that.
storm. You can be the eye
I
of
love
the
it.
storm.
You just
Yeah.
described tango dancing.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Eye of the storm. That's what it is. That's what we are trying to be right now, I think. With all of the chaos in the world, there is all of the natural disaster and everything, that, oh my God, we are in unknown more than any time, I think.
Are you guys happy like right now? Because
I mean, like,
so with all the practice that you did, all the work, where are you at this?
Well, happy is not even the word. Like, I'm so grateful that we can share this awareness together, because by coming together to look at it from 3 different angles, I already feel the universe. Because, you know, I was one holding the one perspective, and now suddenly I'm 3. And in that expansion, I feel myself
It
as
feels
a
like
universe.
your heart is like bursting out, right?
Like, yeah. And I think that's how we are learning to communicate like this. Instead of
connect.
looking for answer is not one, answer is many. And that's what we are learning right now, like by talking, like, wow, I love how you see it. I love how you see it. I love how I see it. Wow.
Yeah, and all the opinions are awesome.
Opening.
And you can decide that it resonates with you, or you can decide that actually that doesn't resonate with me, but you're already forward on check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm liking a different perspective, because it says the same thing that like all the conversations we had, it's saying the same thing with different words, with different example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that.
And what is that same thing?
Right for the place of being and living and being alive, and not putting energy in that stick.
Like just switching from survive, that I need to survive, to actually I live and I experience life and living.
You had 2 cups.
Yeah.
I have
I love
coffee.
You cheated. I'm going, how is it? How is that cup still full? I'm like, this thing was empty a long time ago.
I know. Right, guys.
You know, it's like if there is no positive, negative, I have it all.
Oh, nice. All right.
And I have some water.
Yeah, perfect.
Well,
Perfect.
I need to get more coffee.
Well, thank you so much, you guys.
That's
I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed it so much. So thank you.
Me too. This is, oh my God, amazing.
Amazing.
Last night was fun, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.